Hello and welcome to the Penalty Box Perspective. My name's Nathaniel and I'm joined once again by my very festive friend Matt. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, Merry Christmas to yourself, and happy holidays to all the other listeners. Did you have a good time?
It's an okay time, yeah. It's working throughout Christmas. But other than that, did spend some good time with friends and family. Like you say, well, it has been a while since we've recorded a podcast, today being the 27th of December. But we decided to jump on and talk some World Juniors Championships today. You'll find a full recap of the Christmas period holiday NHL games coming out on Monday, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, are you excited to talk some Junior Championships?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorite times of the year is World Juniors. I mean, it's no sort of secret. I love the kind of the draft and sort of prospects and everything like that. I think it's just great, being able to see the kind of upcoming talent of the NHL showcased in like a really fun tournament. Um, so for those who aren't sort of familiar, so the World Juniors is kind of exactly how it sounds. It's like two groups of five. They work their way through like a little bracket tournament after a little group stage, but it's all the kind of teenagers of the game playing at the highest level. And this year it is being played in St. Paul, Minnesota. Um,
We
we, um, so it starts Boxing Day every year. And then this year the medal round begins just after New Year's Day on the 2nd. Um, Now going into this particular tournament, the USA looking at a three-peat. However, I think they're going to have a bit of a struggle with that. I think due to the absolutely stacked nature of one Canadian roster. Just to rattle off a few names of some of the guys who were there: Gavin McKenna, Michael Misa, Porter Martone, Zane Parek of the Calgary Flames, Tisha Ginler, son of Jerome Ginler, and that's just to name a few. So that team is looking pretty damn good. But yeah, have you kind of followed much of the World Juniors in the past, Nathaniel, or is this kind of like first time round with it?
first time properly. I've kept half an eye on it, and I see. Well, usually it's Canada that wins, isn't it? Really, Canada, Sweden, or the USA that generally win every year. But so I haven't watched it properly. I haven't followed it in great detail, but I do think it's a great example of. It's a great way to do things. Like get these youngsters in front of the fans, especially because obviously with the draft in the NHL, they get drafted and play down in the minors for a few years still. But this is a good example to get their names out there to show what kind of competitive spirit they have on the big stage. So I do think it's a great tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And look, there's every single year at the World Juniors, there's someone who ends up drastically rising their draft stock because they go out and they're just a complete surprise package. Absolutely not what people would have expected, and it ends up turning heads. And especially in Canada, this tournament means an awful lot to them. I mean, they've won it 20 times. They've won it plentifully, but they are coming off a bit of a skid in the last two. They finished fifth in the last two World Juniors Championships. They won the one prior to that because one Connor Bedard had a record-breaking World Juniors tournament. But yeah, they're kind of hoping to get themselves sort of back in the back in contention for a medal, and I certainly think they've got the squad to do it. I mean, even their goaltending duo, Jack Ivankovic and Carter George, both really, really highly regarded prospects. And you've, as mentioned, you've got Gavin McKenna there, you've got Martone and Misa, guys who were selected in the top 10 of this year's draft. And their roster's just absolutely stacked. But looking at the US as well, they've got some really, really interesting players there. I mean, they've got James Hagens there, who was someone who we covered, quite a lot around the draft. Got taken by Boston. Really, really, exciting exciting player. And they've also got Cole Hudson there, who is the younger brother of Lane Hudson, the reigning Calder Trophy champion, who I think a lot of people expect is going to be the best defenseman, at the tournament as a whole. I think he's going to be an absolute star, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, there's also like a few other, and this is another thing that I like about it as well, is that you get a few names from, because obviously it's not just Canada, it's not just the US and Sweden and Finland, etc. You get a few guys from the likes of Czechia or Switzerland or Germany, etc., or Latvia even, um, where you end up with a few kind of like unexpected prospects. One of those is Albert Smits, who plays for Latvia. And certainly, just reading through, an article published by Joshua Clipperton for CBC Sports, there's a lot of people talking about Albert Smits being a top 10 pick in this year's kind of upcoming draft. He's played the last 2 years in Finland's top men's division. And even as a defenseman, he's got 12 points in 29 games so far this year, which for an 18-year-old defenseman playing in with a bunch of men is, I think a really good return for him so far.
yeah, well, it's certainly a name I haven't heard of, but I guess in that same nature is Anton Frondell, into the third overall pick from this year's draft for the Chicago Blackhawks, who is currently still in Sweden playing with the big adults, and he's obviously still doing well over there. But he's playing in this tournament as well, so I bet you're excited to watch him run the Swedes show.
Yeah, I mean, certainly as a Blackhawks fan, I'm certainly the last few years. I think that's really what's ramped up my interest in the World Juniors, is because they've had a lot of players there. So you've got Anton Frondell there. As you mentioned, he was a third overall pick in this year's draft, just gone, playing with Djurgårdens in the Swedish Hockey League, and he's had a really impressive season so far. He's on course to hit the 20 goal mark, which as a teenager, I think has only been done like 4 times in the SHL's history, which, is really, really exciting. They've also got Vaclav Nestosil playing on Team Czechia. They've got AJ Spelisi playing on Team USA. So, yeah, an exciting time to be a Blackhawks fan. But that Sweden team as a whole, they've got some really, really exciting players. They've got Frondell, they've got Victor Eklund, who is William Eklund's brother on the San Jose Sharks. He was selected by the New York Islanders, so he'll be going and mixing it up with Schaefer and co. Potentially could be maybe joining the AHL maybe next year. I certainly think he's maybe a year or two away from NHL hockey, but one of the most interesting names on that Sweden team is Ivar Stenberg, great name by the way, who is pretty much the guy going toe to toe with Gavin McKenna right now for the number one spot in this year's draft. I think, and I know we talk about the McKenna sweepstakes every week, but there's a little bit of cooling on some people from Gavin McKenna. I mean, it's just hockey fans being hockey fans, isn't it? In a social media space. McKenna's at just over a point per game at Penn State, and people are going, don't know about this guy. Like, it's
He's
just
not all he's cracked out to be.
yeah, it's just ridiculous. In that regard, 18 points in 16 games, with Penn State so far. I mean, yes, okay, it's not the 129 points in 56 games he put up in the WHL last year, but it is a massively different sort of level of competition. But Stenberg especially is, he is one of those wingers who can just make everything happen. He's just buzzing around the ice the whole time, just creating goals, scoring goals, like a proper playmaker, kind of a little bit like, I mean, I've seen kind of a few comparisons. dare say it, like a few comparisons to someone like Patrick Kane, which is obviously, big shoes to fill. But yeah, he's got 24 points in 25 games so far in the SHL as well, which again at 18 years old, there's guys in their 30s here just absolutely bodying these kids. It's a league that has a lot of like big, heavy shutdown type defensemen. So it makes it really tricky for the forwards to score goals. There isn't a ton of really high scoring games in the SHL. But for
Mm.
Stenberg to have done as well as he's done with 24 points in 25, I think it's going to be really interesting come draft time if he ends up leapfrogging McKenna. It's still McKenna for me right now. I just think that he's completely undeniable. But I think that the World Juniors will be a really good opportunity for one of these two to really sort of grab it by the scruff of the neck and drag their team to victory and really sort of put their name in the shop window, so to speak. And certainly with Chicago's bad run of form recently, I'm back looking towards the bottom of the standings and the draft lottery once again. So yeah, very exciting.
So, what's your money on then for which team's going to win this year?
It's got to be Canada for me. I just think they are feeling very sore about the last 2 years of what they've had. They've brought in a new coach. I forget the name of the coach off the top of my head, but he is the same coach who brought them a gold medal in 2020. So they're going back to something that's worked. And I just think that roster is so strong that I just think it's hard to look past them right now.
Yeah.
But I do think, you are looking at Canada, US, Sweden, probably. I think Sweden are going to be some. I think they're going to turn a few heads there, for sure. But and I just don't feel like you can ever really count out the USA. I mean, there's been a few games that have happened already. Obviously, we're recording on the 27th. There's been 4 games played so far, with quite a few of those names already making a bit of an impression.
Yeah. The opening game was Sweden against Slovakia, with Sweden coming out on top 3-2. Yeah, Frondell coming in with a goal and assist. Victor Eklund coming in with a goal as well, and then Stenberg, your boy Stenberg, with a game-winning goal and an assist as well in that game. So that was a good start for Sweden, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Slovakia as well are always sort of one of those teams who can be a little bit, they can cause an upset and sort of turn some heads. And so yeah, I think it was I was kind of wasn't watching the game, but was keeping up to speed with the game, sort of as it was happening, sort of through social media, Game Center, that sort of thing. And it was a really tight game. But as I said, Stenberg already coming in with a game-winning goal as well as an assist. I'm dead happy to see Frondell get 2 points in the first game. That's terrific stuff. That was then followed up with Finland playing Denmark, and to be honest, there wasn't too much that I was going to touch on with this, other than the fact that Finland won 6-2 against Denmark, and they absolutely demolished them. So there's a bit of a promotion system that works in the World Juniors. So,
Mm.
um,
Kind of like the Nations League in football.
yes. So Denmark have just been promoted up into the World Juniors this year. They are going to struggle. There's no sort of two ways about it. That it's going to be a tough one for them. But yeah, Finland just came out and absolutely, blew the doors off. And then the US played Germany. That storied rivalry. But yeah, again, there was a lot of big name people popping up for the US. They won 6-3. And I know in our when we planned these out, I've kind of put all the names in, and I know some of these names sort of may potentially be be sort of running past you a little bit, Nathaniel. But just wanted to highlight Max Plant. Great name as well. I mean, hockey's just got the
For a
best names.
vegetarian
Yeah,
or a vegan.
he had better be. He had absolutely better
What's
be.
your diet to score such a great goal?
Max
Max
Plant.
Plant.
But Max Plant got on the score sheet last night. Now, Max Plant is having, I believe, he is leading the NCAA in goals at the moment, or certainly has. It's either goals or points, one of the two. But he is a really, really effective goal scorer, and he was selected in the second round of the draft. I think it was either the year just gone or the year prior, by the Detroit Red Wings. So he is already kind of drafted within a franchise and is really putting up some really good numbers in the NCAA. And I think he's a lot of people's sort of outside choice at the moment for the Hobie Baker Award, which is it's basically the NCAA MVP in essence. So he's so not someone that a lot of people have heard of, and Will Horcuff as well is another one who was drafted later in the first round, I think. But he was on the score sheet again, and Chase Reed as well, the defenseman. He's eligible for this year's draft, and is someone who I think a lot of people are thinking may end up sort of within the top 5, probably the top 10. But if he kicks on this year, he could well find himself sort of up in that top 5 region. And then James Hagan's got on the board as well, with an assist. And then I think they saved the best game till last, I think, with the Czechia-Canada game.
Very close to an iconic scoreline, but it did finish 7-5 to Canada. High scoring game, that, wasn't it, really? I mean, I didn't catch any of it, but all the names we've talked about all on the score sheet, one way or the other, really. But yeah, Canada coming out on top against that. This was like the best game. It could be a repeat game of the medal matches later on in the tournament, I think.
Yeah, I think Czechia will certainly be another one of those teams that will be looking to try and make an impact. I think that they are maybe could be up there, maybe in like a bronze medal conversation. I don't think that they're going to make sort of too much damage in the sort of in terms of a gold medal or anything like that, but they'll certainly be sort of there or thereabouts as Czechia sort of often are.
Yeah.
There's one sort of aspect to the Canadian roster that I found sort of quite interesting. And that is, and I'm going to throw a name at you, and if it rings a bell at all, just say so. Keaton Verhoff.
I know the name Keaton Verhoff.
So he is currently prior to the World Juniors, he was the second ranked prospect in this year's draft. Right-hand defenseman, currently playing at the University of North Dakota at the moment. Shout out Jonathan Taves. And he is a large, mobile defender, just a proper atypical modern day NHL defenseman. He's got size, speed, but he's a bit of a gamble because there's a little bit of rawness to his game. And Keaton Verhoff played as a goalie until he was about 11 years old, before then making the transition to defenseman. So he's not actually been playing as a defenseman that long, really, in the grand scheme of things. And I know you sometimes see, forwards transition to defence and vice versa, but I think it's quite rare that you see someone go from being a goalie all their childhood to at 11 just sacking it off to be a defenseman. But Keaton Verhoff is not really expected to play that much in this Canada team. I think mainly due to the stacked nature of the of the rest of the team. But and it may well be that his time comes next year. But I just found it quite interesting that someone ranked so highly in this year's sort of draft prospect analysis,
Yeah.
etc., is kind of on the outside looking in with this Canadian roster.
Yeah, I've got Keaton Verhoff. I play a mobile game called Hockey League Manager, kind of like Football Manager, but for hockey. And it's got every league in there, etc., like that. And Keaton Verhoff is currently my second right defenseman. He's got elite potential. He's currently sat on 84 overall, sat on my D line, like 21 years old. So I'm expecting a big push from him to
God
become one of my
damn.
first lines.
Who's his
My top.
defensive partner?
At the moment, it is. Let me load it up. I got Nikishin and Brock Faber as my first pairing.
Oh, god damn.
Uh, Absolutely. Who's his? It's taking forever to load now. Hope
Yeah,
the
there's
suspense is worth it.
always the way. Um, but
Oh, a lad called, if you know, Etienne Marin,
name rings a bell,
and then I
but
got
not someone I'm too familiar with. Uh,
an
but there we
Aaron
go.
Kivihayan as well.
That was the
Anyway, there's that. But
Hockey League Manager update of the week. And if they want to sponsor
great
the
game, by the
podcast,
way.
they can.
If you
I've not played it. Is it free free mobile game? Is it?
You can play it free. It is you can pay for like premium and you get unlimited seasons. It's a little bit streamlined. It's only like a fiver, I think, if you pay for it.
That's tempting.
But
That
yeah,
is real tempting.
have a look. I know you'd be obsessed with it, mate, and I can tell already.
I think that's the
But anyway,
problem. I think that's the problem. Is it would consume my entire existence. Um, I'm just like, oh,
uh,
yeah, but yeah. Well, I think that's as we'll kind of come close to to our sort of wrapping up of this episode, and it was only going to be sort of a smallish one today, just with obviously the festive period, but is there?
I think we're missing out on one key thing we're missing out on here.
Oh, go on.
Where surely there's an international tournament, so surely England are touted to be this is their year. But we haven't touched on England or Great Britain. Now we've touched on how it's kind of like a promotion relegation system, a bit like a Nations League. So those listening, you must be thinking, oh well, we must have had a bit of a poor year last year. We're in the second division and we're looking to get promoted next year. We'll be up with the big leagues in it to win. And no, we're not. So
No,
we've been talking about the top division, which is what is mostly what people are interested in. In all honesty, it's the one that's been played in Minnesota, St. Paul. Then you got Division One. Yeah, we're not in that. Another 12 teams in Division One, and then
Oof,
in Division Two, that's where we are.
get in.
So we're in Group A this year, playing in Bucharest, Romania, and we're playing the likes of China, Croatia, Romania, South Korea, and Spain.
Oh my, Spain.
I don't think I've ever seen an NHL player at Spain.
Is there an ice rink in Spain? I mean,
Apparently so.
there must be one. Oh, right. Team GB, go do us proud.
Yeah.
Jesus
I mean, they're facing
Christ.
Iceland. Iceland's in Group B, so I thought Iceland would have been up there, But
Yeah, I think there'll be some absolute juggernauts in there. But no, I was I was more dialed into the World Juniors as opposed to the the Division 2 World Juniors this year. So I do apologise. But yeah,
we're not
look,
very patriotic.
no. I mean, look, this is it's a really sort of good week of hockey. It kind of slides right into that festive period. It works, it kind of all wraps up at the start of the new year, and it just kind of gets that as we approach the middle part of the season. It just gets us sort of into the starting to keep sort of one eye on the draft, because I think first and foremost, I think sort of the draft prospects it's not really worth paying too much attention to for like the first third of the season, because first and foremost, the NHL teams up and down the league, everyone's still trying to figure stuff out. You don't know which teams are going to be good or bad, or etc. I mean, this year alone, we've seen it, haven't we? Where teams are moving up spaces, down spaces, left, right, every direction. Like the league is so close this year. And also you have a lot of the young players who are draft eligible, especially now, a lot of them going and playing NCAA hockey, so there's a bit of an adjustment period, so a few of them start a bit slower out the gate, and I just think it doesn't sort of bear paying too much attention to right at the very start. However, the World Juniors usually kind of earmarks the right, we're starting to get into draft season. We're going to start keeping a bit more of an eye on, on McKenna, on Verhoff, on Stenberg, and the rest of them. But I'm just really excited to sort of see where the rest of this tournament goes, and I do think that it is Canada's to lose, but we'll have to see. We've thought that the last couple of times, and it's not quite come to fruition for them.
Yeah. I just wished it was more accessible to watch, because just like with NHL in general, it's hard enough watching NHL in this country, never mind a World Juniors tournament. But this is akin to sort of like a European Championships in football, really. Obviously, they're developing the Four Nations and things instead of like the All-Star break, but
yeah,
it's
no,
important hockey. It's a big tournament. It's well renowned for hitting the markets of where hockey's played. And for me, like if you can watch the Tour de Belgium cycling on Eurosport at whatever time, you should be able to watch some hockey. But you can't.
yeah, for sure. I mean, alternatively, your option is to go out there and get a VPN or something like that, so then you can watch. It's obviously it's on TSN in Canada, which is like the biggest sports broadcaster. In the country, more or less, it's pretty much like Sky Sports in the UK. And I mean, that just goes to show how much coverage this gets. And they, all of the kind of pundits and people who work within the sports media, they all kind of take their NHL goggles off for a moment, and they're all just completely dialed in on this. And it means so much to them. It means so much to all the people participating in it as well. And I know that certainly from having listened to various interviews, especially with Canadian players, I think, those who have won gold medals in the World Juniors, that often say it's like one of the most proud moments of their entire career. I think especially that's been more poignant since they haven't been able to attend the Olympics. So maybe that'll change, but yeah, it really does sort of mean a massive amount to these lot.
Yeah.
Just a quick one before
Well,
we finish. I'm just going to sideways step into the into 2 minutes of Olympic talk before we go. Have you been keeping up to date on all of the absolute disaster that's appearing in Milan with the hockey rink?
I've I've seen things about how the rink is too small and things like that, which I thought was a joke headline, but I think that's actually real, isn't it?
That is the case, yeah. So the ice is a few about 2 or 3 meters shorter than an NHL regulation one. They've basically just shortened the neutral zone in the middle. But yeah, so there's concerns over the size. There's concerns over the fact that it's anticipated to be ready about 4 days before the Olympics starts. Um, so it's just like we've been so excited for hockey to come back to the Olympics this year, and I think there's just a lot of nervous people about the fact that it's just not going to end up being ready. But fingers crossed, everything's all looking good. I think there's been concerns over the quality of the ice, etc. I really don't think the players are going to care that much. I think they're going to be Olympians. If it's the most choppy ice going, I think they'll just suck it up and play. But yeah, big year of sport coming up. Obviously with the Olympics this year. Yeah, dead excited for what 2026 brings.
If anything, player will be able to establish themselves as like the very first 180-foot centre or something like that.
Yeah, there won't be a 200-foot center anymore. In fact, I don't know what's going to happen with those 200-foot centers. They're going to, they're going to be in the first row of the stands. So they
Yeah,
might
they
just
can
have to shorten the game a touch.
spend some time in the penalty box aboarding themselves.
Yeah. Right. Well, should we leave it there for now, and then we'll,
Yeah.
as you said, we'll be back on the 29th, recapping all of the festive games that have taken place in the NHL. So as always, guys, you can find us on both X and Instagram at the PBP Podcast. You can also get in touch with us on via email at penaltyboxperspective@gmail.com if you've got any feedback, comments, anything you want to let us know about the show, or even if you just want to wish us a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. I mean, it's the 27th now, but it's all the same. Equally, if you want to go and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, that would also mean masses to us. It really helps kind of, push us up the algorithm and make people more aware of the podcast and get more sort of ears on, so to speak. You can also go and subscribe to the YouTube channel where we produce the audio podcast for you to listen to on there. So if you want to go and watch and subscribe there, that also means masses to us. And we've got some big plans coming up for 2026, and I just want to, as we approach the end of the year, just want to thank everyone who's been listening so far. I've had some really nice feedback for both myself and Nathaniel, so really, really enjoying doing this, loving every second, and looking forward to what the next year brings.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll see you in a couple of days' time. Take care.